chaplain at Methodist Hospital for about a year. And in Methodist Hospital, you see people from all walks of life, every nation and every tongue are in that hospital. And they have different cultures and different ways, but guess what? In that hospital, they're all sick. And they all want the same thing. They all want to get well. And as this African-American Baptist chaplain, when they were in their pain, when they were lonely because no family was there, it didn't matter who I was. They were glad to see me. Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist. One of the most memorable moments I had was with a Jewish rabbi who was sick. He's from New York, had recently moved to lead a synagogue in Houston and wasn't going with it. And he opened up his heart to me and just how lonely he felt. And we sat in his room. It was Monday night because the football game was on playing. And I was just thinking the whole time, here's his need. Wants to be loved. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest love we know is in Jesus Christ. Amen. So those people that are around you, they don't look like you. They don't season food the way you season food. They may eat some things you would never think of eating. Have the same need. And if you're in Christ Jesus, you know the need you have. And how it was satisfied. One solution. Romans 5:6 for it says, for while we were still weak, at the right time Christ died for the ungodly. When it talks about weak, it speaks to our incapacity to do anything about our own condition. We cannot change our relationship with God no matter how hard we try. If you think about righteousness on a scale of 1 to 10, okay? And you think of the most righteous person you can think of, the person that was the kindest, the most giving. Let's talk about Mother Teresa. She's no longer with us. But I don't think anybody can dispute about her heart. To stay with lepers, to love and to hold people that nobody else would hold. And in regards to God's standard of righteousness, she might be a 9. Right? So with her being that 9, where are you on that scale? And you may say if we were trying to jump the Grand Canyon, she might come a foot short of making it to the other side. But guess what? It's the same result. If you only made it 3 feet in, or if you made it 3 feet away from the other side, same result. We come short. We have zero capacity, but Jesus, at the right time. It's a very simple thing. Sinners need Jesus. Another reason for us to move from being segregationists in our theology is Jesus came for sinners. That was his target audience. Was sinners. What does he say in verse 13? Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous, but sinners. Say the whole reason I left heaven was for the people you're frowning up at me about being around. That's why I came. If I wanted to be around righteous people, I never would have left. There's nobody down here. He came for sinners. Those people who use language we wouldn't use, whose pants may hang a little low. They may have all sorts of tattoos. They hang out out at night and do all sorts of things, but that's what he came for. And if we understand that, then how should Sunday morning look? Shouldn't it be a few more tattoos? There might be some couples that we think maybe you guys shouldn't be coupling. That's what he came for. And we, instead of having a missionary mindset, think more colonial. What do I mean by colonial? That we come in and get you to adapt to our culture. And so I would love for you to come to church, but first you got to dress right. You got to look right, because you got to look the way we look. And you got to talk the way that we talk. But no, a missionary goes into the culture. Meets needs of the culture. And allows the culture to come and express itself in its new faith. And so music would change. And we should be okay with that. Attire would change, and we should be okay with that. Because that is who he came for. Luke 4:18-19, Jesus speaking not long after he had spent his time in the wilderness. And he says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." He's speaking of good news. And ladies and gentlemen, do you know good news is good for bad people? Right? You will shout, hallelujah, I'm so glad you're here if you're oppressed. He's saying, I'm coming for oppressed people. I'm so glad you're here when you're poor. Because I've come for poor people. If you're captive, man, I'm glad. And many of these people are the people we don't associate with. I'll pray for you. I hope things go well for you. It's a question that we need to ask ourselves. If Jesus has come to seek and to save that which is lost, shouldn't we join the search party? When I was in high school, my senior year, I had a class ring. Gold class ring with a itty bitty diamond. I love my class ring. Anybody still have that high school class ring? Okay, mine went to a bill later on in life. But at the time, that was my class ring. And I remember playing basketball outside in the front yard, in the driveway one day, and I did a hook shot. And that ring flew off my finger and went somewhere in the yard. And I went hunting for that ring. Went somewhere in the shrub. I literally started hacking branches off to get behind and underneath. And I could not find my ring. You know, the value made me look for it. And in Luke chapter 15, Jesus tells 3 stories about God's desire to look for something that was valuable. He starts off by talking about a shepherd that had 100 sheep and one was lost. He said the mentality of the shepherd is to leave the 99 in the open country, to go and try and find that one lost sheep. And when he goes and finds that lost sheep, he puts it on his shoulder and he brings him back and he tells all his neighbors, join with me. I have found my lost sheep. And Jesus says the same mentality happens in heaven. And all the angels in heaven join in celebration when one sinner repents. That's 1 out of 100. When we find 1%, that's the attitude of the shepherd. But then he takes it a little place, he talks to a woman who has 10 silver coins. She loses one. We go from 1% to 10%. It says she sweeps the whole house clean, trying to find that one coin. It's not the mentality, I still got 9 of them. But when she finds it, she tells her neighbors, join with me, I found my coin. Then he takes it to a greater sense of value. Moving from lesser to greater. We went from 1 sheep out of 100 to 1 coin out of 10 to a man with 2 sons. And one wishes to have his father's inheritance, and he goes off and squanders it and finds himself in an utter depravity. He deserves what he gets. He should stay out there if we're thinking about justice. And you've made and ruined your life so you get what you deserve. You chose to put that in your arm, and that's what your life should look like. You found yourself locked up, you need to be locked up. We can have that mentality. But it says that this one son comes to his senses, and he says, I was better off, the slaves in the father's house were better off than I am now. And I'm going to go home and say, make me like one of the slaves. Many of you know the story. Long way off. The father doesn't say, there's that rebellious son of mine. Go lock the gate to keep him out. Our place is for the righteous. And we celebrate with one another because we make all the right decisions. No, he runs out and throws his arms around this lost son. Because he says, this son of mine was dead and is now alive. Ladies and gentlemen, God's children are out there dying. Our city. Listen, I found my classroom getting up early the next morning, and the sun coming in gleamed on something in the grass, and I found that ring. And I was excited about finding that ring. I want you to know, out of everything you can pursue in this life, nothing will compare to you helping find a lost soul for Jesus Christ. Nothing. I want to strongly encourage you to make that your life's mission. You know, the Pharisees, the separated ones, started off asking Jesus' disciples a question. Why does your teacher eat and drink with sinners and tax collectors? I think if they were to come around and see the contemporary church, they'd ask a different question. They'd ask the teacher, how come your students don't do the same thing? I want to encourage us to be like Jesus. To start having relationships with people we don't normally have relationships with. Sinners need Jesus, and Jesus came for sinners. So I want to give you some practical steps on how you can start to reach those who culture may say you are not reached. Real simple statements, real simple thing. Here's a plan. First thing, pursue 5 lost people. Think about 5 lost people. One of those may share an address with you. They might be a neighbor next door, someone you work with or go to school. A person you have no idea where they are in their faith. I want you to start having them in mind. And then number 2, I want you to start praying for them. Praying for God to sensitize their heart to His love. To give you a way into moving from strangers to acquaintances. At least being on a first name basis. Saying intentionally good morning when you see them. And then from praying of planning to share Jesus Christ with them. Something that has changed my life, and I just want to talk to you about it, if you would mind. And once you move from planning to share, you need to present the gospel. I know this is where it gets scary. I'll give you some help on that. There's an app that you can download to your smart device called a Life Conversation Guide. It has a video. You can initially show that video to them until you can learn the sequence of what is said for yourself. So now you know how to share the good news of Jesus with someone. And then finally, we don't want to have that Moses law where we take a newborn baby and drop them off at the fire department. You need to partner with that person to help them grow. You may say, I don't know enough to help someone learn how to walk in a faith. You know more than they do. So just being like family with this person as they try to navigate a new life is all we need to do. So I want to encourage you to do that. And if you have any kind of reason to think or doubt or fear about it, I want you to think about something. About this sick person that needs this physician, Jesus. Paul talks about how he understands that Jesus is the only means to deal with sick people. And I think I have in your outline Luke chapter 1, verse 15. I want to give you a little background, and we'll read that and we'll close. The verses I have before that, I'm going to read it, then we're going to read that last one together. Paul is writing to his young protege. He says, now we know that the law is good, speaking of the law of God, if one uses it lawfully. Understanding this, that the law is not laid down for the just, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and sinners. He's saying that the law is made for lawbreakers. Right? The reason we have a speed limit is for people who like to speed. He says that the law of God is for the ungodly and sinners, for the unholy and profane, for those who strike their fathers and mothers, and for murderers, the sexually immoral,